Hey guys, this is Xaoslegend. So this is a standard deck I've been using. Basically, I wanted a deck that would be somewhat effective in the format because the payouts are so good in standard versus like draft. And if I want to go infinite consistently or whatever, being reasonably good at standard seems like the best way to do that. And the standard events pay out Zendikar packs. So when I run out of packs, instead of buying them with my ticks from selling rares, I can just use my ticks to win packs cheaper and use those in the events. So this is a blue-red deck. I like it for a few reasons. For one thing is that it doesn't need any of the super expensive cards. Blue, red, and black tend to have pretty cheap cards in them. They don't have the expensive planeswalkers that you need to play. They don't have, maybe I could run Jace in this, but Jace isn't that expensive because he's been running a lot of things, or printed a lot. Basically this is pre-sideboarded against Jund. I think half of the matches I've played in the two-man queues have been Jund, so that's been good for me to be pre-boarded against them, because I've won 3 out of 4 of the matches against Jund, with running pretty much pretty expensive lists of Jund. Okay, so the expensive cards here are Scalding Tarns, which are like 4 ticks each, right? 4.5 maybe. So that's like 18 ticks. Then Siege Gang Commanders are like 2 ticks each, so that's maybe 24 there. Sphinx of Lost Truths I just have from draft. Same with Dwar Isle. I didn't need to buy those. I think I had a Siege Gang from drafting M10. Then the sideboard is all cheap stuff. All this other stuff is super cheap. So that's basically it. So it's like a $28, maybe $30 deck. I don't know. Something like that. It's pretty cheap. I can't imagine getting much cheaper. Double negatives, obviously, for Cascade, and it's just pretty solid against a lot of random, decks in the dark, like Warp World. Okay, Warp World. I counter it, right? A lot of Cruel Ultimatum. Okay, I counter your Cruel Ultimatum, right? I run a lot of one-ofs just to kind of throw people off. Scope I like with turn because it gives me card advantage, and then with all my fetch lands, I can look at the top card, and if I don't like it, I can fetch it away. But I don't want to, I don't think it's that good, so I don't run that many of them. Spell Pierce, I like one. It's usually, like, I think every time I've had it, I've used it, and it's been good. But I don't want to run a bunch and have them play around it and have that strategy work out for them. So if they see it, all of a sudden they have to play around it, and it winds up owning them because they're playing around something I don't really have. Lightning bolts are just good. I don't like burst lightning in here because I tend to use my mana later, so kicking burst lightning just doesn't happen very often. So lightning bolts is better, and it kills the pro blue pro black guy, right? The antelope or whatever it is. I can't remember, from M10, right? So it's important for that. You just have to wait if they have Orin Reef out. Wait for them to use it and then kill their creature, and if they don't use it, well, just kill it the next turn. Punishing Fire is just for more burn, and a lot of people come into play tapped, gain a life lands, so it's good against those and just random decks. I could probably take those out for bursts, but I wanted them for certain sideboard matchups, and I don't have room in my sideboard, and it seems fine. Okay, then we've got, it's good against Nighthawk too, right? Vampire Nighthawk. We've got Negate, just a singleton Negate, a singleton Essence Scatter, running the full 4 Spreading Seas, the full 4 Ruin Blasters. Geopede and Welkin Turn. Probably when people see my deck, the thing that they think is the weakest is probably the Welkin Turns, which I don't know if is true or not. I haven't really decided yet. They seem to be fine in general. They still draw removal, and they avoid Earthquake, and they help win the race, because I'm not going to be able to destroy all of Jund's lands, right? So I need to be putting some pressure on them in order to win the game somewhat quickly. And Geopedes and Welkin turns seem to be good enough for that. And we've got one of my favorite cards is Siege Gang Commander. He's just a really good, built-in card advantage card. A lot of times they use their removal on just the Siege Gang, and then I have 3 tokens left over. If I have a ton of mana, I can sack him in response. So, I mean, he's just really good, and he's really good at stopping aggro decks like red-white, so you drop him, you got a whole bunch of blockers, you can start taking their guys out. Sphinx of Lost Truths doesn't die to Bit to Misblast. It lets you discard any dead cards that don't help in the matchup, like Ruin Blaster, or Spreading Seas, or Swerve, or, counterspells, whatever's not working for me. Or I can kick it in long games, which, I do every once in a while, and, just draw a bunch of cards. And then one Sphinx of Jawar Isle. He's expensive, so I don't want to run a bunch of him. And he's very match dependent. I run a Singleton Swerve, same thing, same reasoning as the Spell Pierce. It's just they see it and they play around it for the rest of the match, and I only have the one, right? And the side, I'm running Terramorphic Expanses and Scalding Tarns and Steven blue-red, and I'm running 26 lands. I was running 24 before, but I didn't draw enough lands, too often. Expanse is decent. It's good with Geopede. I've had games where I get 2 Geopedes out, and then, I have a Scalding Tarn out from the turn before and Terramorphic, and I almost kill them on turn, 5 or 4. Okay. Sideboard Mind Control is really good. Take their Baneslayer and beat them with it. Flash Freeze, just good against tons of the decks in the format. Unstable Footing against the Turbo Fog decks to get through that last damage. And sometimes I just board it in as just against controlling decks, and instant 5 damage to the face, pretty good. Dragon's Claw I put in recently just for the red matchups. I have enough red cards, and then if they're also playing like mono red, it's good. Helps you beat them. And then Relic of Progenitus. There's a few like turbo graveyard decks, and the mono black decks tend to deal with their graveyards a lot, and the mono red decks have a lot of flashback guys, or unearth, right? And so it's great against them. And then I can always just cycle it. So that's the deck. I've done, 8 events, 8 of the 2-man events, and I've won 6 of them with this deck. So for a $27 to $30 deck, I think that's pretty good, especially for my first standard MTGO deck. So I'm pretty happy with that. So next video I'll